Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of the Marley Media podcast with your host, yours truly, Marlon McPherson, otherwise called Marley Mac, as I'm known in the business, if you want to call it that, by my artist name slash producer name. And this podcast is going to be about why you do what you do. Before I get into the topic of the podcast anyway, I am going to just introduce what this podcast is going to be about, as it's the very first episode. Now, this podcast is being done as a video podcast. In particular, this episode is being done as a video podcast. So you'll be able to view it on YouTube, as well as you'll be able to download the podcast. Now, for those of you viewing the video version of this, you'll be able to see the links inside the description, inside the show notes. So go ahead and check those out. And any other links or any information that needs to be shared will be put in the description or the show notes, as well as you'll be able to see an accompanying, hopefully, page on the marleymacmedia.com website. So you can actually check out anything that's being discussed in any of the episodes of this podcast. Now, just to tell you about what this podcast is going to be about, is really music production related. So anything that I feel that I can share, and that's going to help anyone that does music production, or musicians in general, anyone inside the music industry, especially if you're just starting out and you're trying to figure things out, you're trying to see what direction you should go in with certain things. Hopefully I can help you and share my knowledge with what the little that I have. I plan to share it anyway. Now, I'm not some big-time producer or big-time artist that has every top-notch secret out there that you probably think I'm going to reveal, but I'm someone that's on a journey. I'm someone that's actually learning, and this is a passion project for me, doing music production on the side. It's not a full-time career for me. I do have a business that I run otherwise, where I help businesses with online strategy, so things like branding, doing brand strategy and doing online marketing and things like that. I do help other businesses with that. So I kind of split my time between doing my work, which I actually make money from, and then doing side projects like music production. So I do this because, like I said, I'm passionate about it. I love music, and it's something that I think I'll always be doing. So to give you some history about me, I have always been a music fan and someone that loves to do music in general. Now, as a kid, I was probably about 10 or 11 years old, and this was me in Jamaica. I grew up in Jamaica. I was born out there, actually, and I was introduced to music as a player of music at the age of about 11 or 10. My uncle, who at the time lived in California, actually brought me this keyboard. I can't remember how many keys it had, probably about 49 keys or something like that. So he bought me this, I want to say a Casio keyboard. And at the time, I had no clue how to play a keyboard, obviously, but he was somebody that played. He wasn't musically trained, and he didn't know how to read music, but he was good at playing music from ear. And actually, a lot of my family are like that on my mom's side anyway. And they'll be able to hear something and they can just find the key really quick. Whether this is through singing or through playing an instrument, they can find the key quickly. And I think I was blessed with that same talent or ability, I should say, because my uncle showed me just one chord progression. It was a C chord. So it was like C, F, G. And he was like, there you go, get on with it. Not like that, but I actually had that keyboard for some time, and I just practiced on it. I tried to figure out how to play different songs, and this was like really crappy at the time. I wasn't like, playing the songs per se, but I was trying to figure it out. And over time, I actually became better and better at backing songs I could hear playing on the radio. I would just hear a song and I'll be able to find the key and then figure out the chord. And then that's how I learned. I kind of taught myself how to play the chords. And fast forward, maybe a couple of years after that, I was playing in a church youth band. and I got a lot of practice doing that. And I was doing live music as a result of that, in that type of setup. And after I finished school and stuff, fast forward, I'm living in the UK as a teenager, and I kind of had life took over. I was studying, and I didn't really have time for music. And I was kind of pursuing things that were more secure, things that were more concrete. And, well, in the traditional sense, you would say they're more concrete, so traditional career. So I studied web design at the time in the early 2000s when I was in college. The internet boom of like online presence, and with the scene being set for something, what's happening now, people making money online with having e-stores and stuff. Everyone was trying to jump on that at the time. So I thought, okay, I'm a creative person at heart, and I think if I do something like web design, I'll be able to, make a killing. Now, I'm not rich. It didn't work out that I made riches from that, but I ended up working in related fields, and I, ended up in marketing, ended up in doing e-business projects for a couple of different companies, with helping them to get online and get their things set up, where I worked in as part of a team. And we worked on projects that were like problem solving, getting their booking engines going, getting their e-commerce sites going, and things like that. Now, the reason why I'm telling you this is that everyone has a journey that they go through. And if you've got a passion, you always end up coming back to that passion in some way, shape, or form. So I've done many different jobs over the years, and now I probably don't look it because I get this all the time, and it can get super annoying actually. I've got a baby face, but I'm in my late 30s right now. So this has been a few years ago that I'm talking about. And I've only just gotten back into music maybe in the last, I'd say 3 to 4 years, um, properly, because I was doing a little thing where I was DJing at one point. So I would do little events and little gigs, and I'd have my setup with my laptop, and I'd have, music downloaded. I had CDs at the time, and then I had music downloaded onto my hard drive, and I was doing like virtual DJ and all of that stuff. And people would ask me to come and play their gigs. A lot of the times they didn't want to pay you. They didn't have money to pay you. But you know what? You just did it because you probably like them, and you probably didn't have anything else to do at the time, and you were passionate. You loved it. You loved music. Um, but my true thing was I wanted to make music, and I started to research music production. I mean, it was inaccessible. Is it inaccessible? Yeah. So I wasn't able to get into that early on because it was super expensive for equipment back then, when I first started out, and when I had the interest in what I was doing. So now we live in such a good time where everything is just like accessible, right? We have, I mean, professional microphones that we can get for under $100 US or £100. We have, you know, field recorders now that you can get, at a reasonable price. You don't need this big mixing desk and console anymore. And then we've got our computers with software that we can do everything that you used to be able to do in an analog studio. So I thought, you know what? Let me start investing into some of these software and the equipment that I need. And gradually I worked, and I started buying things. I started watching tutorials. I started learning how to actually produce electronic music, which is what I was interested in. But I like to hear live, real instruments as well. I don't actually have like live instruments that I play proficiently, but I do have a guitar in the house. And if I wanted to, I could probably play a couple of different chords on the guitar. But my thing is keys and figuring out keys. I still don't know how to read music to this day because I never learned, because I was lazy. Is it laziness, or I just felt like I didn't need to learn it, because I played music with people that had to have the book in front of them reading the notes, right? So they would start the song, right? They play the introduction of the song, and let's say somebody's going to sing and this person is like tone deaf or something, and there's people like that. You start in a certain key and then they've gone off on a tangent in a totally different key. And I've seen people that struggle, as in the pianist or the keyboardist, actually struggle to now find the chord or the key that they're in, and they're there for like I don't know, a good 2, 3, 4 minutes and they still can't find it. Whereas with me, somebody that plays by ear, I would usually be able to find the key within like the first few seconds or the first minute or something, right? If it's a straightforward enough song, like one that's not all over the place where, you're jumping from key to key or chord to chord. So I felt like, you know what? I've got this ability. I rather do it this way than actually be beholding to having to learn the notes. Now I regret not taking certain opportunities to learn from other people that could teach me how to read music. And I'd say to anyone out there that is actually um, able to learn music, to just learn the theory, learn as much of it as you can if you're passionate about learning music production or getting into the music industry. Even if you're an artist, just learn it because it's going to help you with your vocal abilities or the abilities to the ability to write songs, to put together chord progressions and things like that. Now, where was I going with this? So basically, I wasn't able to do music from the point of view of being trained and so on. But I wanted to invest in the music production equipment. I wanted to invest in what was available to me now because the prices had come down to a point where I at least could afford to buy it without having to sell a kidney. So I started started learning in Logic Pro, and I then got into Ableton Live. So I actually got Ableton Live and I decided, you know what, let me just start a YouTube channel and start putting out some of the stuff that I learnt. And I didn't really think anything too much of it. I didn't have this massive master plan going into it. I just knew that I just wanted to share with people and hopefully somebody would learn from it. And I put out, I guess, a few videos here and there. And then I realized people were actually paying attention to it. So I said to myself, you know what? I actually enjoy doing this. And I became more consistent with making the videos and started to actively look for songs that I could remake and things that I could do that was interesting because this was a learning process for me. And as I was learning, there were other people learning from me as well because I would go through the projects and they would see exactly what I've done. Now, me starting this podcast is another way for me to reach as many people as I can. So my why for doing this podcast, if you will, is to really continue what I've started on Marley Mac Media, the YouTube channel. But I wanted to make it more accessible or more convenient for me to make these produce these types of content with more consistency, because I feel like I can do the podcasts in a more efficient way, and I feel like people can consume podcasts in a way that you can't do video because you have to be looking at a screen all the time, and you have to, well, not all the time, but it takes away from the experience of watching a video when your phone is in your pocket. You're listening to it on your headphones or something, but your phone is in your pocket. Or, podcasts are beneficial in the sense that you can be walking around doing the dishes or something and you could be just listening to a podcast. So I thought this is a great way for me to actually start producing the content and doubling up on YouTube as well. So I'll still be probably putting out some projects and tutorials and stuff on YouTube. So people that want to consume that can still see that, but I want to be a bit more consistent with the podcast. So this is going to hopefully be the start of something great. And I'm trying to take people on the journey with me, and hopefully it will be an exciting journey for both you and me. So I'm trying to keep this podcast kind of casual. I took a while to actually start recording because I was like contemplating, how should I do this? I started to put together like presentations and things like that with slides for the video version of it. And I thought, you know what, why am I putting myself under so much pressure? Let me just start. And I put out a Instagram post today that says, a journey starts with the first step. And a lot of us procrastinate a lot and not actually take steps towards doing stuff like we're supposed to do. So whether it is that you want to start music production, or you want to start taking photos, or you want to start a YouTube channel, or you want to learn how to cook, right? You need to make that first step. And once you've made that first step, you'll find that every step after that becomes easier and easier, because you're now gathering momentum behind you, right? So it's no longer something that, is just stuck in your head. And the worst thing you could do is to have a great idea and leave it behind. You keep thinking about it and not do it. And then next thing you know, somebody else is doing that thing, whether it's like releasing a product or something, and you could have made money and be ahead of the game if you had just put things into action. So the whole point of the title of this is to really find out what your why is. And everyone has a why, right? We do things for a reason, right? Some people will say, okay, I'm doing this just because I want to do it. There's no reason behind it, but there's always a reason why you do something, right? You get up out of bed and you do what you do because there's some kind of motivation to it. So sometimes we don't have clear direction in life, and we don't have clear direction in whatever our career path is and what we're trying to accomplish. But at least have a reason why you want to do something. And then once you've figured that part of it out, all the steps will then fall in place. It's much easier to then figuring out what you need to do, right? Because you now have a reason to it. And then you can map out that journey in a much more clear way. So if you're looking, like I said, to start a podcast, if you're looking to start music production, or if you're looking to start putting out your music, or if you're looking to learn a new skill with regards to music, or if you're looking to collaborate with somebody, you have to just go for it. Just go for it. So this is really about inspiring you to take steps towards whatever it is that you feel like your journey needs to be. So I'm most likely going to be doing a format where I'll be really just presenting to you my thoughts and any useful information that I find related to music production, audio production, and the music industry in general to help people grow. And it's going to be just me, but hopefully I'm going to interview other people as well. If I can get interviews, then it's all good, and we'll have a conversation, a two-way conversation or a three-way conversation, depending on how things pan out. And we'll see how this goes and where it takes me and where it takes us. So until next time, I'll catch you in the next podcast. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And I'll speak to you soon. Take care.